So on your side tonight, among the slew of executive orders signed during his first weeks in office, President Donald Trump focused on transgender athletes. Surrounded by a group of female athletes, the president threatened to withhold funding for schools that allow transgender women to compete in women's sports. North Carolina has barred transgender athletes from high school and college women's sports since 2023, when the Republican-led legislature overrode a veto by former Governor Roy Cooper. South Carolina has limited transgender women competing in middle, high school, and college sports since 2022, but the concept is new in other states across the country. WBTV senior national correspondent Peter Zappa is speaking with an athlete who feels her community is under attack.
The Trump administration is sending a clear message to schools around the country. Play by our rules or we'll cut your funding. The rules laid out in his executive order say that transgender women cannot compete in women's sports in schools or universities. But Darren Johnson, a cyclist here in Nashville, says boxing out this group is finding a solution to a problem that does not exist.
Darren trains on this airfield turned cycling track. That is, when she's not doing her day job as a local chaplain at a hospice.
Sometimes I come out here after work and I'll do laps until they're locking the gates.
The 55-year-old competed in the men's division as an amateur cyclist until 5 years ago. That is when Darren told her family she was transitioning.
I have a really supportive family. Certainly there were conversations to have and things to think through and work through.
But she says there's a new unwelcome spotlight on her since the president's executive order.
There's even a photo floating around that's being used against me as sort of evidence that I'm out there stealing podiums with me and a friend of mine. I was in second and she was in first. She lapped me. I lost by over 10 minutes in that race. But folks are still using that to kind of demonstrate somehow that we're out there trying to wreck the sport.
Darren says her transition is putting her body through changes that slow her down. But there's still opposition to her competing with women.
I would say that the fear-mongering around that has really not been a very apples-to-apples type of argument.
The doctors aren't sure if I'll ever be 100% back.
For Peyton McNabb, she says playing against a transgender girl changed her life. During a volleyball game her senior year, Peyton was hit by a spiked ball from a transgender player on the other team. She suffered a serious brain and neck injury.
My parents have said countless times, I'm not the same kid that I used to be.
Peyton attended President Trump's executive order signing at the White House. Shortly after, the NCAA changed its rules, announcing it would limit competition in women's sports to student athletes assigned female at birth only. They did this despite NCAA President Charlie Baker acknowledging there are fewer than 10 transgender athletes he's aware of competing in college sports.
I'm concerned about women's well-being. I really don't care what someone does with their life, but when it affects me and I have to, it's not loving to lie, and I'm not going to lie to them to make them feel better.
While President Trump is signaling his desire to kick transgender women out of competitive sports and schools, for now it is just a signal. While Republicans are trying to pass legislation, Democrats keep blocking their efforts to sideline these athletes in the eyes of the law. I'm Peter Zappa, listening to America.